All right, welcome. Today we're diving into a really fascinating idea. This concept that the personality we show the world isn't always who we really are, that sometimes it's more of a mask, something we created a long time ago to get by. So let me just ask you this. Have you ever felt like you're playing a part? Like the person everyone sees on the outside, it just doesn't quite match who you are on the inside? It's this weird, deep conflict. And, well, it turns out there's a really powerful reason why so many of us feel that way. And what if that feeling, that disconnect, isn't actually a flaw? The whole idea we're exploring today frames this as a personality mask. But here's the twist. It's not a sign of weakness. It's actually a brilliant, brilliant survival tool that your younger self probably created. Yeah, let's totally reframe this. Instead of thinking of this mask as being fake or inauthentic, what if we looked at it as a seriously intelligent adaptation? A strategy that you, as a younger person, came up with to get through a really tough, maybe even dangerous environment. It's a game changer when you start to see it that way, with a bit of compassion for yourself. Okay, so how does this actually work? To really get it, we need to look at this core idea, the split between our natural self and our express self. This right here, this is where that internal conflict really comes from. First up, you've got your natural self. You can think of this as like your factory settings. It's just who you are innately. It's your preferred, totally effortless way of being. It's you when you feel 100% safe, unjudged, and just free to be. That's your baseline. And then there's the expressed self. This is the person you actually show the world. And in the context we're talking about, this isn't just being polite at a party. No, this is a whole set of survival-based adaptations that can, and often are, the complete opposite of your natural self. And this is where it gets really clear. Look at this split. Your natural self? That's innate. It's effortless. It actually gives you energy. It's just who you are. But the expressed self, that's learned, it's adaptive, and man, can it be draining. Because it's not about who you are, it's about how you survive. And when that gap between the two gets really wide, that's when you feel that bone-deep exhaustion, that feeling of not being real. Okay, so let's break this down even further. How does this split actually show up in real life? Well, it can pop up across 4 main areas of our personality. And sometimes it completely flips our natural traits upside down. Let's walk through each one. First up, let's talk about the energy split. This is where you get the forced introvert. This is someone who is a natural extrovert. They get energy from being around people. But they learned somewhere along the way that being outgoing was dangerous. Maybe they were told they were too much or too loud. So to stay safe, they pull back. On the outside, they look shy, reserved, but on the inside, they feel completely trapped, bored, and just lonely. And then you've got the total flip side, the forced extrovert. This is a natural introvert, someone who recharges by being alone, who had to learn to be on all the time to survive. Maybe they had to manage a parent's emotions, so they seem super charismatic, charming, the life of the party, but inside, it's a performance. It's completely exhausting, and they feel like a total fraud, just desperate to get away and be alone. Okay, next up is the perception split. Let's look at the forced sensor. This is a person who's naturally intuitive, a big picture thinker, a dreamer. But they grew up in an environment that wasn't safe. So they had to shut that down and become hyper-focused on the concrete details around them just to survive. Their incredible imagination gets hijacked by anxiety and just constantly scans the room for threats. On the other hand, you have the forced intuitive. This is a natural sensor, someone who trusts what they see and hear, the facts right in front of them. But they were taught that they couldn't trust their own senses, maybe through gaslighting. So they learned to ignore reality and instead develop this kind of fearful sixth sense, always reading between the lines for hidden dangers. It leaves them feeling totally ungrounded and anxious, like they're in a fog. All right, now for the decision split. A forced thinker is someone who is a natural feeler. They lead with their heart and values, but they learned that showing emotion was dangerous or a sign of weakness. If feelings got you punished, well, you learned to shut them down. So on the outside, they seem super rational, maybe even robotic or cold. But internally, they just feel numb and disconnected until, of course, the dam breaks and it all comes out in a sudden outburst. And the opposite of that? The forced feeler. This is a natural thinker. Logic is their home base. But they were put in a position where their safety, their survival, depended on managing everyone else's chaotic feelings. So they become these incredible people pleasers, but it feels so fake to them. Inside, they're just full of resentment for what they see as the illogic of it all. They feel completely trapped. And finally, we have the lifestyle split, which is all about control. The forced judger is someone who is naturally a spontaneous, go-with-the-flow kind of person, but they grew up in total chaos. So to feel safe, they had to create rigid control and structure. They look like a perfectionist, but it's not a comfort to them. It's driven by pure anxiety. And deep down, they're resisting the very rigid structures they've built for themselves. And last but not least, the forced perceiver. This is a person who naturally loves a good plan, they love closure, but they learned that making the wrong decision had terrible consequences. So what happens? They become completely paralyzed when it's time to choose. They look passive, like they're procrastinating, but it's not flexibility. It's a deep, deep fear of making the wrong choice, and it leaves them in this state of constant, unresolved tension. Okay, I know that was a lot. And if any of that resonated with you, the big question is pretty obvious. So what do I do now? And look, the point here isn't to feel bad or overwhelmed. The point is that just understanding this, just seeing it, is the first huge step on the path from simply surviving to actually living an authentic life. And this, right here, is maybe the most important part of this whole explainer. The goal is not to just rip off the mask and throw it away. You don't want to eliminate these strategies. They were brilliant. They kept you safe when you needed them. The real goal is to heal the wounds underneath. Because when you do that, the need to wear that heavy mask all the time, it just starts to fade away. So this journey is all about integration, not getting rid of parts of yourself. It really starts by just acknowledging the mask exists without judging yourself for it. Then you can actually start to appreciate what it did for you. It was your protector, right? And as you build more genuine safety into your life now, you'll notice you just don't need the mask as much. And that's the beautiful part. That's when your natural self starts to feel safe enough to come out and play, letting you finally build a life that feels like, well, like you. So we'll leave you with this final thought. That mask, it was a tool for survival. It was never meant to be a life sentence. The real you is absolutely still in there. So the only question left is, as you start to heal and feel safer, who are you really underneath it all?